You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Thursday edition of Coffee with Graeme on AETi Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Coffee with Graeme is, of course, brought to you by Fabricland Winkler and Evolve Green. In today's episode, since I am on holidays when this episode will be released, we aren't able to update you guys on what happened in the MJBL, but it's safe to say that that league championship game that was played on Monday was probably a fantastic game, whether it was only going one game or two games due to the double elimination format that they got. But we got a treat for you guys today. The president of Softball Canada will be joining the show. His name is Scott Nealis, and Scott is going to be joining me to just talk about the U19 women's national team. They had their selection camp on August 8th to 12th. We're going to talk about what that selection camp was like, just what the team is looking like, the coaching staff, and some other things as well. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming in the president of Softball Canada, Scott Nealis, on this edition of Coffee with Graeme on AETi Productions. And joining me on Coffee with Graeme now on a very hot and muggy, humidity is very high right now on Sunday night here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. You told me he was wearing swimming shorts. It's Scott Nealis. Scott, how's it going? How's your Sunday been so far?
You know what? Sunday's been great. Yeah, we're all battling the heat, and we got a bit of rain this earlier in the week. We could certainly use some more. But it was a great day. Got out to watch a couple of softball games early and came back and bit of yard work and relaxed around the pool a bit and took it easy.
That's great. Always nice to take it easy on a Sunday, no matter what, and getting to watch some softball as well. Just how nice is it to see softball being able to return here, not only in Winnipeg, but all over Canada here in 2021.
Yeah, it's been bittersweet in Manitoba because last year during the pandemic, Manitoba did such a great job, and we were sort of the talk of the country in that we got all our provincials in, we got the better part of a regular season in, and then going into this year, we were kind of last to the dance. And there's nothing you can do. Softball Manitoba did an outstanding job of getting whatever they could as far as a season. And as we speak now, I think there's some provincials going on, and they're basically doing the best they can do to get some games in prior to the fall.
Yeah, and I had a chance to talk to Executive Director Don Klim of Softball Manitoba, saying registration numbers were down, but that's to be expected in a year like this when the pandemic is still going on. But great to see that softball is not only back in Manitoba, but all over in Canada as well. And just great to have you on to talk about the U19 women's national team. Just speak about what the process has been like of just the selecting the coaches and the process of selecting this team.
Well, the process of selecting the coaches was in place, and we had Melissa Fennelly as our head coach. And normally when we sign head coaches on, they're in for what we call a cycle that can be anywhere from 2 to 4 years. And Melissa was signed on for this World Juniors. As you can well understand, trying to set up a process of selection across the country when every province is under different pandemic restrictions is tricky. The tryout camps across Canada were delayed. once the actual team selection has been delayed and the tournament itself has been delayed. So we were to originally play this tournament in August, and now we're as late as December now, which makes it tough because a lot of the players that are still eligible for this are playing ball in college in the States and across Canada. So there's more to it than just getting a couple weeks off work or a couple summer weeks of holidays to go play a world tournament. You now have to deal with your school teams and colleges allowing
Right.
you to move.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A lot of variables in there for sure, but it's great that you guys were able to have the selection camp that happened on August 8th to August 12th in Surrey, BC. Just speak about what that, how the selection process went in that camp just in Surrey, BC.
Well, to get to Surrey, you had to attend one of a number of camps across Canada. We had one in BC, we had one in Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, one in Winnipeg, Ontario, Quebec, and out in the Maritimes. And they were going to get down to a number of around 25 or 26 that they were taking out to BC for the 8th to the 12th. It sounds pretty simple, but to get down to 25 players from a country is incredibly tough because there's so many good
Right.
players. And the age group that we're utilizing here are 02s, 03s, 04s. And believe it or not, we're down to fives and sixes because of the caliber of play. You're really looking at about 5 years of girls across the country, and trying to get it down to 25 was tough, and they managed to do a good job of doing so. And that camp was going on for 4 days in BC, where there'll be a lot of testing, there'll be a lot of gameplay. It's one of the best ways that you can really determine who the better players are in certain situations. It's 4 good days. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of great people that know what they're looking for, and we'll see what comes as a result of that.
What's the number that was determined that you guys were looking for the final team? Just cutting that number of 25 down to whatever you guys decide to go with.
Well, normally you get down to a number of about 15, 16. Every tournament's a little different, both for the men's, the women's, and all different age groups. And I believe the number is 15. But because the nature of this tournament, it's going to be very tricky because you can select your top 15, 16 players, but you don't know exactly what their schedule will look like. And for a multitude of reasons, you're going to have to hang on to a few extra girls to make sure that everybody can commit to an actual tournament that, to be perfectly honest with you, we're not 100% sure that it's moving forward yet.
Yeah, it would be so nice to see if it would be able to move forward, but definitely gonna have to keep an eye on that. Let's just speak about the coaching staff. Just speak about the experience that these coaches bring to this coaching staff, and that they're going to bring to this women's national team.
Yeah, you sort of don't know where to start with this group because it's a pretty incredible group. Melissa Finley has a great college career as a coach, a great player in Canada, and certainly providing the leadership required to run this team. Uh, the other coaches moving down the road probably have more experience, and I have to be careful because some of them will give me heck if they see this and say I call them old. But uh, Trevor Ethier from Saskatchewan is involved in the 222s, longtime Team Canada national team member. Dan Jolie is worked with the Quebec Rebels for 18 to 20 years. And Melissa Basilio was one of the coaches with our just recently returned Olympic team, and has done incredible amounts of work, both at the junior level in starting combines and winter camps, and obviously a key component to the success of the bronze medal winning team.
Just being able to witness that back in 2019, seeing this team win a pair of bronze medals at the WBSC U19 Women's World Cup and the U17 Pan American Championships, just to see what that group was able to do back in 2019. Just speak about what that says about how the skill has come in softball here in Canada.
Well, I think softball has always been strong in Canada. Unfortunately, with softball, it determines the world rankings determine how strong this can be. And I use the next Olympics will not have softball, but we're already planning for 2028 with LA. The caliber of play is getting consistently better. And And it's going to be exciting because I think a lot of these players that are just finishing with the Olympic program, and there's a lot of great college coaches that are coming out that have played in Canada for many years. That with having the ability to have quality world class coaches and athletes come back and give back to the game, I see it only being a benefit. And we have countless kids. I think people would be surprised if they knew the numbers of kids that are playing college softball, both in the Canadian League and American leagues throughout. And my hope is that based on what we're seeing both at these tryout camps and as our results in the last few tournaments, is that we are headed in the right direction. And again, selection for these teams is going to be a lot trickier and tougher because you're picking out of a much deeper pool.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And besides the national team, just looking at what Canada was able to do in softball in the Olympics this year, getting a bronze medal against Mexico just speaks to the type of talent that Canada can breed in the great sport of softball. Just speaking about the players that were a part of that bronze medal team, players like Lauren Benson, Katie Korstrom, looking at players that were a part of the U17 event as well, and Emma Dorval, Olivia Gadaris, Dina Grahek. My apologies if I
No, that's
mispronounce
all
these
right.
names, but many great players. Just how nice is it to see that these players are going to have a chance to represent this national team again this year?
Well, anytime you get returning veterans, not unlike our Olympic team, it makes it's a very positive move that helps all the new kids on the team. I've been fortunate in that this group of girls is the age group I grew up with and coach, and I've played against all those girls you've mentioned too many times. And we have a couple of silver medals as a result of them having our gold medal. And we've come up on the losing end against a lot of really good ball players. And starting with Lauren Benson behind the plate, you have an experienced catcher. That's huge. It's a difference maker, and I think that's one of the players that we can really count on. One of the things that I think is kind of unique with this team is we have a fairly young group of girls an exciting group of young girls that when I talk about 2004s, fives, and sixes, some of the younger pitchers are doing some pretty incredible things and throwing some speeds that you just wouldn't hear about at this age many years ago. So I think it's just spreading out that we're a little deeper than we think. I think the original concern was without the 2002s, we may not be as experienced or as old a team. But I think the younger girls are just coming along as really strong athletes and doing a great job of advancing further than the norm as per their age group.
Yeah, and you just speak about just the younger age groups doing some things that are unheard of. Just speak about the teams across Canada, the clubs that these players are playing on, and how they've helped further the development of players here in Canada in softball.
Well, there's a lot of great coaching across Canada, and it's certainly not unique to any province. But when you go to Canadian championships at the U16 level, you can't help but be impressed with the way many of the teams are run and how well coached they are, considering that these are all volunteer coaches. And you're now playing with a group of girls that you're trying to get them to play or get them into a college program. You're trying to get them into a national program. You're trying to get them into a provincial program for the Canada Games. There's a lot riding on the futures of their softball and what they want to do. And as a volunteer, sometimes that can be pretty demanding. But at the same time, what makes it easy, and I've always said one of the easiest things is when you have this many good ball players, it's a lot easier to put together a pretty dynamic team that can be competitive at the national level.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's speak about it. Of course, you guys are going to have the experienced players back, but as a whole, what is going to be the feeling in terms of how this team is going to be able to go out and perform at the tournaments that they'll be able to play in?
Well, this is sort of the great unknown. Every country in the world is battling this pandemic, and one of the things that I personally have noticed is have we been able to progress? Have the players been able to progress as much as they would have hoped And as much as we would have hoped over the last 2 years, when you're playing modified schedules, on any normal summer season, we'd get in about 70 games. I think last year we managed to get in 29 games. And this year, I think most teams managed to get in about 24, 25 games. And for any sport at the elite level, it's just not enough. And I know a lot of teams practice all winter. Well, you couldn't even get into some gymnasiums over the winter. So are we behind some of the countries in that respect? Maybe, but we really don't know what they've been able to do or accomplish as well. So it's a bit of an unknown, and it will be interesting to see how well we perform.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, it's going to be interesting to see what the other countries have been able to do during this time of the pandemic in terms of the training and stuff like that. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see for sure. But just speaking about the upcoming events for this team, pretty sure the team is finalized at this point, if I'm not mistaken, since selection camp has gone and passed. Just speak about the upcoming events for this team when it's finally finalized.
Well, we're not going to have it finalized for the main reason that the actual tournament hasn't been finalized.
Mm,
And what we want to do is we want to try and making this final 25 roster is quite an impressive a feat for these girls, and keeping them together as long as we can, trying to create a little bit more solidarity, even though it might be through Zoom meetings or whatever, is certainly some way to bring this group together and hopefully create a bit of a team atmosphere. So I think we're delaying on the final cuts. So we will work with this group for a short while. Where again, the uncertainty of we're supposed to be playing this world tournament in Peru. Well, their COVID situation certainly isn't very strong, any better than ours, and certain restrictions will have to come into play. We're not going to put our kids in jeopardy where if we don't feel 100% comfortable that they're safe, we might just have to say, look, you know what, we're just not ready for this, and put it off for another year. But it's one of those things that they'll communicate regularly. We're not going to, I think it was 45 days prior to the tournament. So we're looking sometime near the end of October as a release date. So for the most part, I think a lot of these girls will still constantly work. A lot of them, they went right from this camp to college. So they're going to be starting their college routines as well. So they're going to have a pretty busy softball fall.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see for sure what that final team is going to look like come the month of October. Going to be interesting to see which players are going to be able to, show their best stuff during the college season. And when, the team does get announced, the final cut of the team, we'll be sure to have you on again, Scott. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me tonight.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Anytime you want to talk softball, I'm available for you.
Yeah, of course. It's the legend himself, Scott Nealis, president of Softball Canada, joining Coffee with Graeme on this Sunday evening. Of course, this episode going out right now on Thursday morning. We're going to go to a commercial break here in the show. I'll be back without Scott for some final words on this edition of Coffee with Graeme. Stick with us after the break.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. Of course, President of Softball Canada, Scott Nealis, joined me on the show today to talk about the U19 women's national team. Hopefully, we get to see that World Tournament happen later on this year in 2021. But if not, like Scott said, we'll see this tournament happen eventually in the near future. And if that tournament does end up happening, we'll be sure to have Scott on the show again to just talk about the official U19 women's national team roster for that's fielded by Softball Canada. I want to thank Scott for coming on and being the guest in today's edition of Coffee with Graeme. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for taking time out of your Thursday morning and tuning into ASTV Productions to watch this presentation of Coffee with Graeme. And I also want to thank the official sponsors of Coffee with Graeme in Fabric Land Winkler and Evolve Green for sponsoring another edition of the show. We'll be back on Coffee with Graeme next week on Tuesday for an all-new edition of the show. You can catch that one at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time all across our network on our Facebook at ASTV Productions, or you can also check it out on our website as well at astvproductions.com. But until next week on Tuesday, folks, I've been your host of Coffee with Graeme, Graeme Forsyth, signing off. Now, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Stay safe out there and have a wonderful weekend as well. Until next time, I'll see you then. Peace.